The toughness of U.S. Marines and MMA fighters is unmatched, and their professions are high on the scale of demanding activities. Both groups of warriors go through their own kind of hell and deserve nothing less than respect for it. If you're someone who's fascinated by their high testosterone lifestyle and wants to learn something new and have fun doing it, then stay until the end of the video because we will show you the application of MMA in the U.S. Marine Corps. You may have heard of the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, or MCMAP for short. Well, if you haven't, it's a hybrid combat system, which is a combination of old-school Marine Corps techniques and 17 different martial arts. It was primarily a linear infighting neural override engagement system, but in the early 2000s, it was adapted and replaced with MCMAP, which proved to be a revolutionary replacement. For recruits, it's an introduction to the unique martial discipline of the Marine Corps, where they train with the basics of unarmed combat, edged weapons, weapons of opportunity, and rifle and bayonet techniques. It can last anywhere from 25 to 40 hours of supervised training in order to achieve the highest rank and master the techniques taught by the instructors. Sergeant Kenyon Miller says, MCMAP is more than being proficient in fighting. You learn to apply your leadership traits and principles and everything else that goes into being a Marine. Just like in MMA, Marine focuses on working in real-life scenarios to be ready in any situation, using their body as a weapon under the motto, one mind, any weapon. This means even without weapons in their possession, Marines are fully armed at all times. Their training's divided into lethal, which focuses on many techniques that can be used in war scenarios with the use of weapons, and non-lethal, which aims to incapacitate the opponent with physically unarmed skills. In order to not go too far into war themes and weapon handling, we will hold the line and look at some similarities between MMA and MCMAP non-lethal training techniques. When you join an MMA gym, the first thing you'll have to do is go through the basics of fighting, and it's no different for newcomers to the Marine Corps. Both put a high emphasis on repeating basic techniques a million times, but it's something that must be repeated every day, no matter how good you think you are. Those who roll their eyes when simple beginner techniques are repeated to them mostly get it wrong on the first try. Don't be that guy. During the first classes, future Marines receive training where they practice basics, which include fighting range or distance, how to target specific areas on the opponent's body, angles, battle stance, and which parts of the body to use as weapons. Their instructions are so detailed that the instructors explain the simplest things, such as making a fist, weight transfer, telegraphing, and paying attention to the behavior and actions of the aggressor. When we talk about the similarity of striking techniques, we can notice that it's identical to that in MMA. MCMAP teaches upper and lower body strikes, lead and rear hand punches, uppercuts, hooks, hammer fists, elbow and knee strikes, and variations of effective kicks. All of this reminds us of an ordinary day in a kickboxing or Muay Thai gym, and the similarities are more than obvious. Along with each presented technique, the instructors also show a counterattack for the same and explain it in the finest detail, which is great for learning and understanding the combat material. What is important to note is that Marines do not train to enjoy fighting. They are not taught to be cage fighters, but to be effective and fast with their techniques, with an emphasis on survival, with the final task of coming out victorious by any means necessary. Accordingly, you won't see any flashing moves and attractive techniques used in the military. That's why they use various weapons that are inapplicable in an MMA fight when it comes to striking, such as eye gouges and stomps, but also 12 to 6 elbows. With this fact revealed, John Jones would have taken to the Marine Corps like a fish to water. Do you remember the first training sessions when the coach harassed you with endless repetition of basic movements such as break falls, shoulder rolls, flips, and sprawls? Well, they would do the same thing in the Marine Corps. The only difference is that recruits are yelled at and perform all these drills in dirty and wet conditions and in full military gear. Listening to this, suddenly brutal MMA training doesn't seem so bad, does it? At least you can go home when you want. Joking aside, we'll list some techniques that the Marines use in grappling to take down aggressors like shoulder throws, push and pull reap throws, arm bar and neck crank takedowns, and hip throws. In short, every takedown with as little effort and as high a percentage of success as possible is present in their grappling plan and program. In addition, in this segment, they have moves rarely seen in MMA, such as takedown from a wrist lock come along and double flexi cuff, an escort position takedown and single flexi cuff. If any of our viewers have ever been detained, they will know from experience what it looks like. You probably won't be surprised when you hear that the application of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is high on the list of Marine Corps technique. The development of BJJ in recent years has greatly contributed to MMA sport and combat military training. They have special sections in the program called ground fighting, which includes handling situations on the ground and applying submissions that can be used even in a standing position, how to get to the full mount position or the guard, and how to avoid them in case the situation is reversed. They practice various chokes because they're still the most effective way to eliminate danger. Rear choke, front choke, head choke, bear hugs, and all the chokes you can think of. The instructions include wrist locks, joint manipulation, controlling techniques, leg locks, and knee bars. And the ground game aspect also, as you can see, doesn't have any fancy moves, like the go-go plata or banana splits. Looking at their training documents like the McMap Handbook, we can conclude that they use the most effective and frequent BJJ submissions, like the armbar, guillotine, and triangle, practicing them each from all possible positions. If you thought black belt civilians were dangerous on the ground, try U.S. Marine. On the battlefield and in the gym, discipline is the most important thing, and the U.S. Marines divide it into mental, physical, and character. So let's see how similar it is to MMA. Physically, Marines go through the same hell as martial artists, except that, as we said, their conditioning is done under rigorous conditions due to simulating combat stress and often includes team exercises. Physical discipline includes fitness, endurance, and conditioning. With the assigned exercises, they often make competitions such as boxing matches, carrying heavy objects, and racing in full equipment. All of this to bring out fighting spirit in their recruits. When it comes to mental discipline, soldiers are required to gain theoretical knowledge of various histories of great armies. In practice, this includes demanding and stressful mental pieces of training that are also performed in a team designed to break the strongest warriors. In addition to stressful activities, it also incorporates the development of a warrior's mind that will look at all obstacles through a soldier's eyes. This will develop combat IQ and the application of different war strategies, which is another parallel we can draw with the mental aspect of MMA. Character discipline strives to make what they say are ethic warriors who work on the principles of honor, courage, and commitment. Those who do not possess these three principles can be punished, and the same situation can be brought to those who do not respect the rules in MMA gyms. If you are loud, talk during the explanation of the technique, or your behavior alienates the other club members, the coach will certainly discipline you with punishments or, in the worst case, throw you out of the gym without the opportunity to return. In short, if you're not teachable, you will not be welcome in Marine Corps or MMA classes. Just like martial arts, the U.S. Marines use belt rankings that depend on the mentioned hours of supervised training. The man who thought of incorporating this into the program of American soldiers is the same person who came up with the idea to implement the McMap program in 2000. That man is General James L. Jones, Commandant of the Marine Corps, a Vietnam veteran who became fascinated by the fact that all South Korean soldiers have black belts in Taekwondo. Guided by their inspiration, the general introduced belt ranking. Therefore, all Marines must earn a tan belt according to the McMap program, which is only the first belt to earn. After that, you get gray, green, brown, and finally the black belts, which are first and second degree. Soldiers who receive their first tan belt are often motivated to continue training and eventually earn their second degree black belt, which for them is a lifetime achievement. All this training brings life-saving benefits to the soldiers because in real-life warfare, they must be able to perform all learned combat techniques in all conditions. Did you know that some of the fighters we know have high-quality military training behind them? A former participant in the UFC, Brian Stann served in the Marine Corps from 2003 to 2008. In 2005, the former WEC light heavyweight champion was awarded the Silver Star for his exemplary leadership and courage during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Current female Bellator champion Liz Carmouche was an aviation technician in the Marine Corps who served 5 years in the military and did 3 tours in the Middle East. Randy Couture was an air traffic controller in the Army for 6 years before he became a 2-division champion. After completing his term of duty as a staff sergeant in the 101st Airborne Division, he competed in international wrestling matches for the Army for the last 4 years. Tim Kennedy's a UFC face who breathes the Army lifestyle and is proud of it. He served as an Army Ranger and was awarded the Bronze Star for his time in Iraq and Afghanistan as a sniper, while simultaneously building an MMA career. Octagon or battlefield, MMA and McMap share DNA. Blending styles, both forge one mind any weapon fighters. Mental grit, discipline, indomitable spirit, all nurtured alongside respect, honor, and relentless improvement. Contexts differ, but the power to overcome remains, beckoning us deeper into this world of warrior making.